calls a nationwide state of emergency from April 1st. And thousands of migrant workers in India are forced to walk several miles after being fired due to the COVID-19 lockdown. Hello, welcome to Telesur. I'm Carla Gonzalez in Quito, and this is from the South. In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro sent a message to leaders of the world in a letter denouncing attacks by the United States government against the people and the government. In the letter read by Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza, President Maduro says world leaders must unite during this time and adhere to the United Nations Charter. He goes on to say that the attacks are dangerous and serious, given the circumstances as the region works to battle COVID-19.
Venezuela,
in denouncing these serious acts, ratifies its unbreakable will to sustain a relationship of respect and cooperation with all nations, particularly in this circumstance which obligates responsible governments to work united and to put their differences aside to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Before these serious offenses, we ask for your valuable support aimed at this insulting and arbitrary persecution executed during a renewed version of the rancid McCarthyism unleashed following the Second World War.
Venezuela's vice president said 6 new cases of COVID-19 were detected in the last hours. She said early measures taken by the government were key to contain the rapid growth of cases.
We have 135 cases in Venezuela. Of those, 10 patients are in private clinics, 18 in public hospitals, and 21 in other centers. 39 people have recovered, which means 29% of the patients. 47 people are in quarantine at home. In the coming days, we will announce a special protocol for those who are isolated at home. They should follow strict measures. Be completely isolated, wearing a mask at home. Only one person should attend them, and they should be protected as well with masks and gloves to avoid infecting other relatives. That's how we make sure the curve of infections goes down in Venezuela.
A group of Chinese doctors, specialists in respiratory diseases, have arrived in Venezuela together with a third load of hospital supplies to collaborate in the battle against COVID-19. Let's look at the details.
This is the third flight to arrive to Venezuela from China, with medical supplies including gloves, masks, and thousands of COVID-19 quick detection kits. It also brought an extra component. 8 doctors specialize in respiratory diseases and traditional Chinese medicine to cooperate in prevention, treatment, and recovery together with Venezuelan doctors.
About 2 months, we deal with over 600 patients. No one died. So I and my colleagues have much experience to dealing with coronavirus 29. So we can have a communication, or we can share some experience with doctors, with the specialists.
Venezuela is the first Latin American country to receive a team of Chinese specialists, sealing a constant relationship of cooperation between the two countries, forged from the time of Commander Hugo Chavez and strengthened in these times of blockade against the Bolivarian Revolution.
China supports Venezuela and other countries in the world that need it. We do it with the same great love and joint efforts to promote the construction of a community of all humanity.
The large powers are great in the search for shared development, a premise of Chinese foreign policy. They are powerful in the search for peace. They do not promote war, blockades, or aggressions. And of course, that peace and shared development will happen when the powers have the moral greatness through solidarity, which we are witnessing today.
These are quick tests which already circulate in the Venezuelan health system and in 15 minutes confirm or discard COVID-19. They're used in the massive and personalized diagnostic process that the doctors carry out when they suspect the disease due to symptoms or contact with confirmed cases.
Si tiene una, es negativo. Y si no marca la control y marca el T, la prueba es inválida.
According to the reported data, Venezuela has recorded the highest recovery rate in the region, linked to the low prevalence rate in relation to the population. This 25-year-old man is one of the people under evaluation to determine his final discharge after receiving the treatment guaranteed in one of the 46 hospitals enabled for COVID-19 cases.
I was one of the people who said that we didn't have that disease here in my country. And by failing to comply with the measures, look at what happened to me. To my Venezuelan people, I say follow the rules, be very careful and take care, because this is really bad. It was really awful.
All of the technical and medical cooperation is only sufficient if the collective quarantine and prevention practices to contain the propagation routes are followed. This continues to be the main call made by authorities.
Ecuador is close to reaching 2,000 cases of coronavirus. Let's check with our correspondent, Denise Herrera, for more.
The Ecuadorian authorities are still calling to all the citizens to respect all the measures and to stay at home. But all the citizens of province of Guayas are still denouncing that the authorities didn't help all the families to respond to this crisis. The citizens of the Guayas are saying to all the Ecuadorian people that they need help, that they don't know how to respond to this crisis. The authorities of Ecuador said that they are taking all the measures to respond to this crisis in Guayaquil, but it's not still a substance. As you can see, now we are at the Shiris Avenue. This is one of the main avenues in Ecuador, and as you can see behind me, this is one of the humanitarian aids that is leaving Ecuador. They will go to Brazil. At the beginning of this crisis, the Ecuadorian authorities said that they will help all the Ecuadorian citizens that travel to other citizens. But now, the Minister of Government, Maria Paula Roma, said that they will stop with this humanitarian aid because people are not respecting the measures. It's all information we have for now. Back to you at the studio.
Thank you, Denise. That was Denise Herrera in Quito. In other news, Grenada says it is in favorable economic condition compared with many countries which are facing the COVID-19 pandemic, but that strict measures must be taken, bearing in mind that they are temporary.
This is not a permanent thing. It is for a time. Government is losing a lot of revenue. I don't want to lose revenue because I have a lot of things to do, but I'm prepared, and the government and each of us prepared to make the sacrifice necessary to ensure that we protect lives. So I prefer to have a future living than we have to face the consequences of burying loved ones at this time.
While most neighborhood shops remain open to limit the distance between citizens, they will have to travel for food. The Minister of Health has urged the people to stay home, except in the case of an emergency.
Stay in shelter, stay in their homes, observe the protocol, do not leave unless it is an emergency. And I want to repeat, while we've said you can leave for food, I really want to ask the Grenadian people, do not leave unless it is a food emergency, and not just that you need some more ice cream. Do not leave your houses unless it is a food emergency or medical emergency, and you will have done your part to keep your household safe and your nation safe.
The government of Belize has given notice for the state of emergency, which begins on Wednesday, April 1st.
Accordingly, I will be advising His Excellency the Governor General to declare a nationwide state of emergency for the country of Belize. This will go into effect at midnight on Wednesday, April 1st, and will include a curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. every day. The state of emergency is to last for 30 days in the first instance. For its duration, people will be advised to shelter in place even during daylight hours, and only to come out as absolutely necessary for purposes of procuring supplies and doing such business and activities as are exigently required.
In Cuba, 170 people have been diagnosed with COVID-19, 153 of which are in stable condition. There have been 4 deaths, and a wedding which was held in the Pinar del Rio province for a couple from Mexico has resulted in 5 cases.
We never get tired of insisting on the self-responsibility and the importance that people who have been in contact or crossed paths with someone considered as a suspected case, you must be very conscious of the symptoms you may have and follow the measures. Generally, the close contacts can be admitted because the risk when one has been in close proximity with someone who has been confined or suspected, the risk is very high.
Coming up, Iran's coronavirus figures continue to rise. More details after the break.
The life is full of moments. Moments of fight. Moments of hope. Moments that present. Moments that you can live it. Telesur documentaries. Sundays. Only on Telesur.
Welcome back. The number of people who have died from the COVID-19 in Iran has reached 2,757. The Iranian Health Ministry has announced that 117 more people have died from the virus over the past 24 hours. With about 40,000 infected people, Iran is one of the worst countries affected by the COVID-19. But the United States has ramped up sanctions against the people and the government since the pandemic began, creating additional barriers for the purchase of medical equipment.
In the past 24 hours, 3,186 new cases of COVID-19 infections were confirmed across the country. In total to date, we have 41,485 confirmed cases. With the new 117 deaths, we have recorded until today 2,757 deaths due to COVID-19 infection.
Migrant workers in India have been forced to flee the capital, New Delhi, to their villages after losing their jobs due to the COVID-19 lockdown. Thousands of workers had to walk several miles on foot as there was no transport after Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a 21-day lockdown. Most of the migrant workers were employed in construction projects, taxi services, housekeeping, and other informal sectors.
We are walking because we didn't know what was going to happen or if there would be any transportation available during this chaotic pandemic. My landlord said he will not give us any money or food and asked us to vacate his room and leave. So at 11 p.m. at night, I left with this boy.
China has reported a drop in new coronavirus infections as the number of imported cases continues to decline. One domestic COVID-19 case has been confirmed, while imported cases fell to 30 from 45 as reported on Sunday. According to the Chinese National Health Commission, at least 3,304 people have died from the COVID-19 in China. Authorities have closed borders to foreign travelers and reduced the number of international flights.
There are 31 newly diagnosed cases of the virus, of which 30 are imported cases from overseas and 1 domestic case from Gansu. There are 4 new cases of death, all of which are in Hubei province.
Meanwhile, residents from the Chinese city of Wuhan, where the COVID-19 outbreak began, have returned to shopping as government lockdown restrictions have been eased. People with a clean COVID-19 medical record have been allowed to go to supermarkets, while some restrictions on movement still remain in place. Nigerians are participating in last-minute shopping as they prepare for the lockdown set to start Monday night. Over 20 million Nigerians spent the day acquiring supplies in Lagos and Abuja to prepare for the lockdown. President Muhammadu Buhari had ordered 2 weeks of no movement in the streets from 10 p.m. local time to ensure no escalation of COVID-19 cases.
Because if I can't wait and if I did not wait, there's no food at home, so there's nothing I will do. We don't know what is going on now because I can even hear this morning that is now the coronavirus patients is now going up to 114 or 113, so it's going higher every day. So the best thing for me to do is to buy something at home so that I will stay in my house and do my shopping once and for all.
The Zimbabwean government has started to enforce a 3-week countrywide lockdown to fight the COVID-19. The government had declared a 21-day total shutdown, which included the suspension of flights in and outside Zimbabwe. The country has recorded 7 positive cases so far, with 1 patient reported dead.
It's a good call. Also, but what they should do is at least they should provide something. They should provide food to the people.
We don't know what to do, and we don't know when shall we get money. How shall we get money? Because our industry is down. It's locked down.
South Africans who had been evacuated from the Chinese city of Wuhan have all tested negative for COVID-19 after being closely monitored in quarantine for 2 weeks. The South African Health Ministry said the people have been transferred from a hotel to be reunited with their families. Residents of Pemba City in Mozambique are living in fear after a series of militant attacks left dozens dead and several families displaced in the past few days. Mozambican security forces have been battling out to keep the militants out of the region, where gas projects worth millions are being developed. A group known as Ahlu Sunnah Wajama and Islamic State group have claimed most of the attacks which took place in the area. Somalian Governor Abdisalan Hassan has been killed in an Al-Shabaab suicide blast at Garowe police station. Hassan, who is governor of the Nugal region, died in the hospital from wounds sustained from the bomb blast. The bomber is reported to have rushed to the governor's car before detonating the suicide vest. Al-Shabaab armed group has claimed responsibility for this attack in a statement. We'll take a short break. After this, we'll look at the call by the WHO to respect rights when health measures are being imposed.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide your body.
Tuesdays, only on Telesur.
Thank you for joining us again. The plot against Venezuela, recently exposed with evidence and testimonies, together with the U.S. decision to offer a reward for the capture and handover of Venezuelan authorities, opens a new stage in the U.S. aggression. Our correspondent, Leonel Tamal, has the details.
The Venezuelan military high command came out in a solid block to reaffirm their support to the Bolivarian leaders attacked by the United States by offering a reward for their capture. The Trump administration has repeatedly failed in its attempts to sow divisions in the armed forces by exerting pressure and calling for defections.
We ratify our absolute loyalty and steadfast commitment to continue accompanying you in the battles that we permanently fight, to guarantee the health, safety, well-being, and sacred interests of the Venezuelan people.
Another facet of this new aggression, according to recent revelations by Venezuelan plotters who intended to launch armed attacks against the country and some of its top authorities, confessions, evidence, and Venezuela's intelligence work confirm this new violent phase of the coup strategy.
Se ha abierto por parte de este Ministerio Público una investigación penal contra.
The prosecutor's office has opened a criminal investigation against Guaido, Alcala, and others involved in this attempted coup. We have requested warrants of arrest against Clivera, Alcara for the crimes of treason, arms trafficking, terrorism, attempted assassination, and criminal association.
For these analysts, the United States is the mastermind behind these plots, as conditions are not in place for direct military intervention in Venezuela. That is why it has outsourced violence with paramilitary actions and terrorist attacks.
What the United States announced yesterday was the opening of a tender for Colombian paramilitary gangs and private military contractors, which undertake actions on behalf of the United States to destroy the Bolivarian Revolution. It's a little bit of this, and also it's the United States' hatred for peace and any political solution based on dialogue and negotiation.
The general framework are geopolitical operations in the context of a national emergency with the spread of coronavirus, the decline in oil prices, and the throes of the world economy.
Donald Trump's current race is taking place in the midst of an economic recession. Next is the marathon with China to see which country reactivates its economy first. China is taking an early lead. The United States is devising recovery strategies, including accelerating its drive to get a hold of Venezuela's wealth. Plundering is what has supported imperialism over the last few centuries.
Meanwhile, in Venezuela, opposition forces continue to be fragmented, with the faction supporting Deputy Guaido peppered with terrorism charges. On the other hand, the government is maneuvering in the midst of emergency to curb the COVID-19 spread. For now, a new attempted coup has been foiled.
Spain's coronavirus cases are reported to have reached a peak and are expected to begin slowing down. Although Spain became a third country to surpass China with more than 85,000 coronavirus infections and death cases above 7,000, officials have indicated that the virus upward curve appears to be flattening out. Meanwhile, the doctor leading the country's response has also tested positive for the virus. Palestinians near the Israel-Gaza border have commemorated Land Day in small groups after planned mass rallies had been cancelled due to the coronavirus. Some Palestinian groups burnt Israeli flags denouncing the occupation of their land. The leaders also called for the lifting of the blockade on the Gaza Strip to allow COVID-19 medical supply in. On the annual day, Palestinians mark the Israeli government's expropriation of Arab-owned land in Galilee on March 30, 1976.
We wanted to prepare an event for millions to mark Land Day, but for our safety, and the safety of the Palestinian people. And because of our commitment to the state of emergency, we cancelled the main event. We have replaced it with symbolic events, and we invite everyone to participate in them.
For sports, the Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo will be rescheduled for July 23, 2021. The date for the Games will be postponed for a year in response to the coronavirus pandemic. This follows pressure from athletes and sports federations around the world. The Olympic Games will be held from July 23rd until August 8th, and the Paralympic Games from August 8th until September 5th. And with that, we end our news brief. But you can find these and many other stories by checking our website, telesurenglish.net. And be sure to follow us on social media. For Telesur English, I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you for watching.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.